Hey, plant science, welcome to our next little segment focusing on plant anatomy. So we'll talk about the setup and organization of roots, stems, leaves, flowers, you name it, in this little lecture tutorial. So we'll talk about that. We'll do some activities in the classroom as well to kind of help you solidify your knowledge on plant anatomy. Some of this stuff is just going to be basic review from just common knowledge or previous classes that you may have taken either here in the ag department or in your science classes in the past, but let's dive in anyways. So first, to get started, of course, our learning targets for the day. First, you'll be able to explain the anatomy of a seed. You'll be able to identify and explain the role of the factors of growth and germination within a plant. You can explain the photosynthesis equation and the role of photosynthesis in the plant. We'll talk a lot more about photosynthesis in a couple lectures from now, so no worries if it's still a little bit confusing for you after this, because we will spend lots of time unpackaging that and doing little labs in class and simulations with that. Fourth, I can identify below ground parts on a plant, like roots. Next, I can distinguish primary and secondary roots. I can identify above ground parts on a plant. I can compare and contrast determinate and indeterminate growth in plants. And then lastly, I can distinguish the blade, petiole, and stipule of a leaf. This is a really important presentation so that you understand the parts in the anatomy of plants, because as you'll see throughout the rest of the semester, we will be referring to this quite often, especially when we get into our plant breeding unit. So before we get started, I want you to draw me your best plant. Okay, whether that be on a scratch sheet of paper, or maybe you want to do it right on the Google Doc or Google Drive. I want you to draw me your best plant and include as much detail as you possibly can. Maybe take 4 or 5 minutes to do that, just as a little warm up, because I want to see where you're at and how you're doing. And email me a picture or upload a picture onto that cheat sheet that you're working on. So with that, I'll see you in the next video. We'll dive into anatomy.